Welcome to San Diego. Hey guys, so today I'm going to go over kind of a brief recap of my relocating to San Diego. Okay, so first I want to start by saying I actually have a full-length video, or I should really say movie, of me relocating to San Diego. It's of the entire cross-country trip, actually. The reason it's not on my channel is because it is extremely long, one. I also have music in the video that I don't want to get in trouble with putting it on YouTube in terms of like royalties and things like that. And then also just because I have a lot of personal information in the video also, so I don't really want that to be out in the public. It's actually kind of funny because when I made my cross-country trip video, I didn't anticipate at that point that I would start a YouTube channel at all. So actually just made the video for myself, just to kind of document my experience, and also just so that a couple of close friends and family could watch it. So with that being said, a lot of this video is kind of gonna recap that video. Like I said, it is quite long. The runtime is close to 2 hours. About 45 minutes of that is the actual road trip footage, and then the remaining like hour or so is tiny house footage, which I'll explain in a few minutes. But yeah, so let's kind of get into it. Okay, so again, my decision to relocate to San Diego was made years ago, but the actual happening of me relocating happened pretty quickly. It had gotten to the point where I was getting pretty fed up with where I was living and what I was doing, and at the time I had applied for a few jobs in San Diego, really not thinking anything would come of it, and I ended up getting kind of 3 interviews back to back, and the first interview I did good with, but I didn't get the jobs. They had a better candidate, and then the second interview was the one that I actually got, and I ended up doing the third interview. By the time I did the third interview, I found out that I got the job from the second interview. I found out pretty quickly that I was going to be moving. I needed to be in San Diego within 3 weeks. So at that point, I didn't have anything like set. I didn't have an apartment. I didn't have a location where I was going to be staying. I didn't know exactly how I was going to get there. But the one thing that I did really want to do was drive. I had kind of gone over a scenario of me flying over and maybe shipping my car, but at the end of the day, I really wanted to do the cross-country trip, and I'm really glad that I did it. So I actually came with my brother-in-law. He was available to come with me because I needed to move pretty quickly, and a lot of people had to work, so luckily he was able to take off work. I'm so grateful for that, and we did the cross-country trip, just the 2 of us in my car. I had a teeny tiny little car. I don't have that car anymore, but yeah, we made the cross-country trip in 4 days, and we spread it out kind of to try to do like equal driving each day. So day 1 was from the Washington DC area to Memphis, Tennessee. That was the longest day. It was about a estimated 13-hour drive. The second day was from Memphis to Dallas, Texas. I originally wanted to go to Austin, but I didn't want to push my little car. It was packed pretty full, and I didn't know if I would make it because it's kind of out of the way. So we ended up doing Dallas, and then day 3 was from Dallas, Texas to El Paso, Texas, and then day 4 was from El Paso, Texas all the way to San Diego. So the road trip itself was really beautiful. If you have never been on a cross-country trip before, and this is really for anyone, I consider myself pretty above average traveler. You know, I don't travel as much as some people, but I travel more than some people. So, you know, depending on how you travel, or, you know, how often or where you go, if you like to travel at all, I definitely recommend doing a cross-country trip. It's really beautiful just to see the differences, you know, from east to west or west to east, just in the terrain and just the changes in the towns that you go through, in the cities that you go through, just the people and the nature and the scenery. It's just really, really beautiful. So I definitely enjoyed it. So in my movie, I guess, I kind of go over just the day-to-day. Like, I'm kind of videoing me as we're driving through different places and stopping at different hotels and videoing the hotels, and it's kind of like the gateway drug, if you will, to my YouTube channel, because I didn't know at that point that I was going to start a YouTube channel, but I had so much fun making that video that's one of the main reasons that I started this one. So yeah, I kind of break it down into how much it costs in gas, how much in food, how much in hotels, and then other expenses like moving in expenses, like buying furniture and things like that once I got here. So because I was able to drive my car over, I think personally that it didn't cost nearly as much as it could have. But so like food, I believe, ended up being like $150, because I had a bag packed. My mom had packed a bag for us both for the trip, and then we ate very affordably driving over to San Diego, and then we splurged once we got to San Diego. So the food wasn't a lot of money. The gas ended up costing right around $300. That was also including the price of a replacement tire, because I had gotten a flat tire on the way. So I had to get that replaced. So gas ended up being like only around like 215 or something like that. I don't remember the exact numbers, but the exact numbers are in the longer video. Also hotels ended up being more than the budget. It actually ended up being in the $700 range when I had factored in about $500. And then I think the rest of it went to the money that I needed to buy like bed and furniture and additional items for my new apartment, things that like larger items that I wasn't able to pack with me in my teeny tiny car. So the grand total ended up coming in just under 3,000, which to me is not too bad considering I've been wanting to move here for years and years, and I had been, you know, kind of saving up for the trip. So to me it was well worth it. I definitely don't regret that expense. Now, with that being said, and now that I've actually relocated, I really think that I could have done it even less expensive if I really wanted to, because of the fact that it was kind of like rushed. You know, even though I've been planning for San Diego kind of my whole life, like putting the actual plans in place, that was only like that 3-week period. So it was kind of like I had to, you know, make everything happen right away. But, you know, I really think that it could have cost a lot less. And so I think that if you do want to relocate to San Diego or to the West Coast, or really anywhere outside of, you know, where you live now or where you're from, you can definitely do it affordably, because like I said, that I had gone over other scenarios like hopping on a plane and, you know, shipping my car, or you can of course relocate without having a vehicle altogether, which makes that even less expensive. If you say sell your car that you have before you leave your town, and then when you get to where you're going, buy another one, or if you don't have a vehicle at all, which is totally fine, then you don't need to worry about that at all. So yeah, it definitely can be done. I do think that I spent a lot more in like furniture. So the actual amount, the 3,000, only half of that was the actual moving expense, and then the other half was pretty much furniture once I got here. So definitely, if you don't have that to worry about, then it'll be a lot less for you, and even less still if you do it a cheaper way. Like for example, I did the hotels all spur of the moment because I wasn't sure exactly, like I had my stops in mind. Like I knew I wanted my first stop to be Memphis, Tennessee, but if something happened on the road en route to Memphis and I had to stop somewhere else, I didn't want to have to cancel a hotel stay with one hotel and make another one, you know, that sort of thing. So no reservations were made in advance, and when you make hotel reservations last minute, you don't always get the best price. So that could have saved a lot more if I had, you know, had it planned in advance. So it just, a lot of it was kind of last minute, so I think that's why it ended up being a little bit pricier. But like I said, all in all, I'm definitely not upset with the price. I think it was well worth it. I would do it again. I would do it if it cost me double because I love San Diego that much. So in terms of my road trip video, my movie, if you will, I actually wish that I could put it on YouTube, but I can't make it public. So if you know me personally, just send a email, send me an email, gibsoneccentric@gmail.com, or you can text me or, you know, contact me directly, and I will send you a copy of the video so that you can watch it if you're interested in watching the full-length video. Again, it is quite long. It's close to 2 hours, but only about 45 minutes of that is the actual road trip footage, and the rest of that is the tiny house footage. Oh, the tiny house footage. So when we were in Texas, I actually saw a tiny house like company, and they had like dozens of tiny houses on display, and all you had to do, of course I stopped there because if you know me, you know that I love tiny houses. If you don't know me, I love tiny houses. I wish I could buy a tiny house. I would buy one right now if I could find one in San Diego. Anyway, we stopped, we saw it on the side of the road, we pulled over, we spent almost half the day. We were close to the hotel that we were supposed to be there that night. That was when we were en route to Dallas. So we stopped, we walked into the place. Literally all they needed to know was what my interests were. They didn't take my ID or anything, and they just gave us a key, and we were able to go into all these different tiny houses, and it was really kind of like the highlight of my trip, because that was the first time that I really got to see a lot of tiny houses in person. Like you see them on TV, tiny house hunters and all of these things, but I was really very excited to actually explore them. And I went into what maybe feels like 90% of the tiny houses that they had on the actual like lot. I probably didn't go into all of them, but it seemed like I did because we were there for hours. But it was really nice. So about an hour at the end of the video is actually all tiny house footage because I filmed every last bit of it. Oh, and PS, actually came back to film this video in the same spot where I filmed the breakdown of the actual movie, the road trip movie. So if you do check that out, you'll notice that the background is almost exactly the same. But so all in all, it was a really great trip, and I'm very excited that I got to do it. Cross country is definitely something you should do at least once in your lifetime. So I'm very thankful that I was able to get here safely. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys.